Well, the quiet ceremonies, the pageantry, the events of the week play out and will culminate in the funeral. There is another side to all this, which is playing out particularly in the foreign press, and that is criticism of the expense and criticism of Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family. And I've come across a certain amount of this. In fact, I've been asked to comment on it on a number of occasions now. And I've given pretty short shrift. Yesterday, I was caught in a situation where an interview that I did was preceded by a particularly vile piece, which was suggesting that the Queen was party to an English-speaking faction in the Cameroon, and that she was personally opposed to the French-speaking faction. I took some of the interview time that I was given to specifically contradict that report and to point out that, first of all, Her Majesty spoke excellent French. Secondly, Her Majesty is Queen of Canada, where a significant part of Canada is French-speaking. And thirdly, she is known to have deep affection for Africa, not least because it was in Africa where she learnt of the death of her father, where she became queen. So I think that one needed to be hit on the head. The one that came up today, particularly, was on a Turkish channel with what did I have to say to the considerable number of people who were protesting about the expense of the various ceremonies surrounding the Queen's death. And to demonstrate this, there were two rather measly Twitter comments. And I'm afraid, again, I gave fairly short shrift. The Queen has given a life of service, and I think she deserves the full honour of the traditional funeral and ceremonies that accompany it, and that have always been known to accompany it. It was known for some time that this would be the way this would play out. So to carp about some expense is absurd. More than that, to claim that there's a significant part of the population that is opposed to the expense of these ceremonies is to ignore the sheer weight of crowds which is building up. A mile-long queue to see the Queen's coffin this evening in Edinburgh. Gathering crowds, even at this moment, around Buckingham Palace and preparing to converge on Westminster for the lying in state there. I think it is churlish and ridiculous to make up these stories as if they are some sort of equal to the outpouring of grief that is visible and noticeable around the United Kingdom at this moment. And I think it needs to be challenged. So there it is, I'm challenging it. And the few remarks on Twitter do not merit an article or a news piece on British news or on foreign news. They simply don't merit it. Do challenge me, do let me know what you think. I'd be very interested. But I think in this particular case, This is about a lady who gave her life to the country, and the country can give something back to her. And it's also about our Queen. Even if one doesn't acknowledge the Queen, one must acknowledge the person.